Directly east of Jerusalem across the Kidron Valley is the Mount of Olives. Anytime Jesus went into Jerusalem from Bethany or the Mount of Olives, he had to cross the Kidron Valley. It was a Sabbath day's journey, 7/8 of a mile, from the temple to the summit of the Mount of Olives. The New Testament tells us that Jesus' ascension was from the Mount of Olives. We don't know the exact spot, but the shrine of the ascension marks the traditional place where it happened. We do know that in the 4th century, a great church, the Abilene Church, was built here. The column basis from that church is still to be seen. After the Abilene Church was destroyed, the Crusaders built another church on the same site, and the shrine of the Ascension is all that remains of that Crusader church. There have been cemeteries along the Kidron Valley ever since ancient times. The Jewish cemetery on the south slopes of the Mount of Olives has graves that are 2,000 years old, so this is the oldest and largest Jewish cemetery in the world. On the opposite side of the Kidron Valley, the Muslims have a cemetery below the Golden Gate. They believe that the resurrection of the dead will begin here in this cemetery. Notice that the Golden Gate is walled up. Elias explains why.
As we know from history that the wall of Jerusalem was built in the 16th century by the Turks, and because of the Muslims, they are waiting for the second coming of Jesus. The Jews are waiting for the first coming of the Messiah, so the Turks did sealed up the gate, waiting for the second coming. That means when he comes again, the gate will be opened by itself, and he will enter the city through the eastern gate, as well as the same thing the Jews do believe. And that's why the Muslims and the Jew are burying close to the Kidron Valley, because the name among the Jews to the Kidron is not Kidron Valley, they call it the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which it means God will judge, so probably they're looking for the first seats during that final judgment, which I doubt.
The Palm Sunday Road winds down the side of the Mount of Olives. It follows the route of the ancient Roman road, so this is the same road that Jesus followed riding a donkey for his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. He crossed the Kidron Valley through the Golden Gate as the people shouted, "Hosanna, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." There are several churches along the Palm Sunday Road. One is the Russian Church of Mary Magdalene. It's not very important historically, but it's a beautiful church with its 7 onion-shaped domes. It was built by the Tsar of Russia, Alexander III. The Church of All Nations is more important because it was built on the ruins of an ancient 4th century church. Inside there's a large rock called the Rock of Agony, where Jesus is supposed to have prayed the night before he died. The mosaic on the front of the church pictures Jesus weeping over Jerusalem. The Garden of Gethsemane is next to the church. It's still maintained as a garden, and it's filled with twisted old olive trees. These trees are thought to be 1,000 years old, one of them even older. These old trees make it likely that the Garden of Gethsemane was here on this same site in Jesus' day. Here's a gnarled old olive tree with new trunks growing out of the roots. This is what happens when an old olive tree is about to die. So the Arabs say, an olive tree never dies. From the garden, we see the Golden Gate in the distance across the Kidron Valley. The night before he died, Jesus came to this garden and prayed, "Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass away from me, but not my will, but thine be done." And his disciples slept. This church is shaped like a teardrop, and it's called Dominus Flevit, the Lord wept. An ancient church stood on this same site. The Byzantine Christians believed that this was the place where Jesus wept over Jerusalem, hence the name, the Lord wept. As we view Jerusalem from this church, we remember the haunting words of Jesus. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, but you would not.